Yeah, I normally go over my first lines in great detail as well. So just see if, the board is where it should be, the thingies, the chess clock, I believe it's called, are where they should be, all the good stuff. I normally also try to check for wardrobe misfunctions, but I'm running late, so could not do any of those things. And I have a feeling, with a very, very heavy heart, I'm gonna have to resign this game against Claudia. Because the thing with her is, she takes her time, as you can see here. And it's a little upsetting sometimes. She's making you think. So I'm gonna resign, and you'll see I have a not amazing score against Claudia, because many times I've lost patience during these test games. At least that's the official version. Truth is, she's been crushing me left, right, and center. Does this work? Are we actually on? I think I pushed the button. Press the button. Let me see the check. The chat. And Karnering is a veteran of these shows. He's saying, I see a bladder break for Jan before too long, and he's not wrong. I thought the exact same thing. Like, I have a feeling today, like 20 minutes in, we might have to do the bladder thing. So what else is new? I spent a couple days in Norway with beautiful landscape, doing nothing, like staring at the, what's it called? It's not really a river. Is it a fjord? Is it a lake? I don't know stuff. I should probably ask these things at some point. But it was nice. What have I done? Watched a bunch of movies. Got into a new podcast, which is amazing. Hardcore History with Dan Carlin. I learned a lot of stuff. Soon I'll be a full-fledged historian and be dropping knowledge and like historical analogies. Yeah. Left and right. But so far, I got nothing. Still, I got addicted to that. Let's play chess games. So you can challenge me to a game of 5 minutes. Blah, blah, bloop. We might play. If you're not a premium member, we won't play because you must be premium to play. Those are the rules. And one guy that is premium. That's the only thing we know about him. But that much we know. Is Mr. Sith Meister 12. What's a Sith Meister? Like, I'm familiar with a Sith Meister from American Pie. I probably ran into a few Spliffmeisters when I was younger too, but I don't know what a Sith Meister is. So will we ever find out? He plays knight f3 and g3, which is legal. It should not be legal, but unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to stop him from doing that. Very hard to stop guys from playing the Rati. I have a bunch of systems I employ against it. Sometimes I'll just play it Catalan style, knight f6, d5, e6. Sometimes I put the bishop on g4, sometimes I put it here. Sometimes I play d5 followed by g6, sometimes I play 1c5. I'm very unpredictable, or to put it differently, I don't know anything about it, so I just wing it. d4, can you do that? I mean, you obviously can do that. But I was under the impression that against bishop f5, d4 plans are not that effective. Most people, I believe, think it's fine to take a timeout here and play a move like h6, just to make sure this bishop can always drop back to the h7 square should it get molested via knight h4. And while I do subscribe to that line of thinking, the feeling knight h4 is not a threat yet, because if the knight jumps here, I could go bishop e4. Then in order to gain the two bishops, he would have to play f3, which leaves a bunch of weaknesses around the white king, light squares, and all that. Now after knight c3, it's time to revisit that topic. Typical answers to knight c3 are knight to e4 or pawn to h6. I actually believe that knight to e4 is probably the most clear-cut way to equalize here. But I will play pawn to h6 just to leave a few more pieces on the board. I have a feeling this plan is slightly inferior to knight to e4 because now there's this idea of knight d2 and then push e4, trying to occupy a bit of space in the center, which I'm no longer sure after listening to all these history podcasts. I have a feeling that the flanks seem to be very important as well. It's not just about occupying space in the center, but I'm not sure if the chess and war analogies will get me very far. Still, he did go what I said he should go for this knight d2 move, intending to play e4. And now I'm very sad. And I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just play some solid Dalish moves and see where that takes us. Wow, it's Carl Nearing's birthday? Happy birthday, Carl! 68! That is... that's like almost 30 years older than me. And I am the oldest person I know myself, so it does give me hope. No, anyway, all the best to Carl. Hope his health stuff is doing alright. Some knee issues, which I'm sure he's very happy that I remind him on his birthday. See, I'm awkward in social settings. And to me, a social setting is someone announcing online that it's their birthday. I'm already out of stuff to say. And chess player 007 is saying, Jan, have you seen the Lawrence games? I've seen the one he lost in the second round. I haven't seen the one after that. How did that go? What's the position? He played e3, rook e1. So, I still don't know what to do. I'm so bored already by this game. No offense, Sith Meister 11. But come on. I'll try to mix it. Play a bad move like b5. Slightly weakening the c6 square, which he could try to exploit by going either for direct e4 or for some slowish operation, starting with c5. But he goes for e4, which makes a lot of sense because I did weaken that pawn. Sith Meister, very strong. Everybody's so strong. I get very frustrated when people play chess well. F3. Let's take F3. I don't like much. Looks like a strange move to make. Weakening this diagonal, his own king a little bit. And potentially some dark squares. Even though bc4 you could also say was not ideal. You could say that, and you should say that. You would not be wrong. Because after knight c4 I have an issue on the d6 square. Still f3 restores my faith in humanity. Because I have a feeling now that I'm going to win this game. And that is really what fuels. See, there's another sentence I started and I have no idea how to finish. How am I gonna make it sound that it fuels my faith in humanity when people make bad chess moves? I don't know. It's mainly me feeling entitled to winning chess games, and therefore, if it doesn't happen, I start doubting everything. Sure, one is probably a decent move. What do I know? Let's try to blunder a pawn. Probably successfully. Ugh, something's wrong with this coffee. I think I used some of this non-flocking milk. Ugh. Smux 2006. What do GMs mean when they say online blitz players are very strong at tactics but lack positional technique? Which GM has ever said that? Me, I just whine about everything. I'm not capable of making such a grand general statement. I have no idea what GMs mean by that. It sounds like something you made up, Smux 2006. Thinking that's probably how GMs talk. Then again, I just said I'm very socially awkward, so I don't really know many other GMs. I don't know their deep insights. Okay, I'm down on time and down on rooks. An exchange down, technically. Therefore, it's probably time to breathe in, breathe out. Focus. Blitz out random moves like h5 and somehow win this game. Because, as grandmasters like to say, this guy is a very strong tactician, but he lacks positional technique, in my opinion. I'm doing. Queen c1, very deep. e5 was ridiculous. No, after b4. It's really time to start worrying. But I will win on time. Let's face it, Sith Meister. You know it, I know it, everybody watching knows it. This show does not really have a lot of intrigue to offer. It's just me flagging guys. Especially guys that spend so much time when they're down to 40 seconds. You can't do that. Just don't do it. Just blitz out random moves. That's what I'm telling everybody. And of course, when I say blitz out random moves, that's perfectly fine. If someone says, Jan only makes random moves, I find it very hurtful. I make deep grandmasterly decisions, like d3, trying to, queen the d pawn or something. Therefore, don't call it random moves. How dare you? Another very important rule, repeat once and then deviate. It hurts their feelings and it might help you win on time. I have a feeling I missed a checkmate already, but winter is coming. That was a very confusing game against Sith Meister, who played better than me for most of it, to be honest. But in the end, I thought I was going to flag him, but I mated him before I could flag him, which is upsetting. What are we discussing? Smax 2006 says, he heard Naka said it and he said all GMs he plays with think the same. See? I don't play with these strong players. I'm just here with you guys, so I never run into anybody that's good at tactics or lacks positional technique, whatever that is. So yeah, no clue. You're gonna have to ask the other guys. But seriously, do I think that? I guess you could make a case that playing blitz games, but not really studying chess, is not likely to improve your fundamentals, but it might make you better at spotting tactics. I'm not sure I've made that observation. I feel more like people are quite knowledgeable these days, which sounds strange because people think of me as someone who knows a lot of theory, but let's be honest, not that strong in hand-to-hand combat. But I often get the impression that sometimes nowadays people's knowledge exceeds their skills, which maybe is the fault of sites like Chess24, where we offer a lot of opening classes. But I'm not sure I can finish that thought. My feeling is that if you manage nowadays to get people into unfamiliar territory, which always has been a big priority of my opening play in general, that then they start playing a lot weaker than if they are in familiar territory, which I understand contradicts a bit my normal dictum of saying you gotta play main lines and so on and so forth. But it's a feeling I'm getting a little when playing online, and it also makes my other theory more, I'm just making it up as I go along, as you can tell, more valiant, that it's important to surprise people in the opening, but not at the price of doing something goofy. Anyway, we are playing against Molari and Bishop f5. I'm not sure. I've played it last game with black, but that was against an earlier d3. Here I have a feeling that since he played Bishop f5, I should be well positioned to do business in the center and hopefully on the queen side very quickly, when this bishop might not be ideally placed. Still not sure how to do that. So for now, it's just a hope. Now I'm trying to transpose to some sort of Tarrasch. The theory buffs among you might know what that is, or not, where his bishop on f5 once again is not ideally placed. Ugh. Ugh, this coffee really is not great. And I take all the responsibility. I might have run into some... Tastes a bit like sour milk. Yeah, it's not pretty. What are we talking about? Alfredo says, Jan, why no play German Master? What's that? Carl Nearing is saying, my tactical skills and positional strategies are fighting hard for last place in my list of chess attributes. Yeah, I feel the same way, Carl. I don't think that's a chess strength thing. It's more of a way to live your life. See, that's me dropping knowledge to Carl, who's 30 years my elder. As of today. Before today, he was only 29 years my elder, so I could get away with such stuff. But now, things have changed. As for the game, I'm still pawn up, and I plan on increasing that material lead by somehow taking the d5 pawn. Not quite sure how, but I'll find a way. Another option could be to take the pawn on b7, but I have a feeling he's gonna not allow me to do that by playing knight to a5. When I would play queen a4, hitting the bishop on e4. No, none of that happened. That brings me back to plan A. Target the d5 pawn. Player number 5 is asking, Jan, should chess players wear jerseys instead of suits to make chess look more like a sport? So you're assuming chess players wear suits. Actually, at super tournaments, that is probably true. I don't know. I would enjoy, like, if it's sleeveless jerseys, like NBA jerseys, but not these new, like, sleeve jerseys. It has to be, like, we're not supposed to say wife beater anymore, right? That's not a good term. Undershirts. So yeah, I would support that initiative. Would also be good for chess because it would force people out of pure vanity to work out more, and that would leave them in better shape so they can fight even harder in these modern, cutthroat, long chess games that are being played. Now that the phase of making quick draws that I grew up in, the golden age of chess, as I like to call it, is over, and all the top players are fighting. They need stamina, so I believe it would probably increase their stamina if they had to play in sleeveless jerseys. Therefore, I absolutely support your idea. Player number 5, I do not support Carl Nearing's idea to wear cute little short shorts, John Stockton style. That I always found, like, it's just not tolerable fashion-wise. I believe who is it that takes credit for getting rid of the short shorts? The Fab Five? The Michigan guys? I have a feeling that's probably not true. Like, someone must have hit on the idea of longer shorts before those guys. But yeah, I'm not with the short shorts. But I do approve of the idea of wearing sleeveless jerseys to play chess games. From now on, it should be the dress code in every event. Pramod MVS is asking, when is the next opening clinic? Whenever you ask for one, Pramod. Because I enjoy answering your long-winded questions. Like, could you explain typical ideas in random stuff? I don't know. Might do one day. But I haven't really thought it through. What's coming up? The Sinquefield stuff, Sinquefield Cup, I believe they call it Sinquefield Cup, not Sinquefield stuff, is starting soon, where I think I'll do commentary in the good old German language for the last 2 rounds. Then we have the Kasparov comeback, the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, where I'll be doing commentary also in German, together with my old friend Robert Rabiga, for probably the entirety of the event. So I'll be a bit busy with that, but not super busy. Maybe if I motivate. And now that Pramod asked, how could I not motivate? I'll do an opening clinic before one of these sinker rounds. Stay tuned. Or don't. I'm not very salesmanish today, but I might do one. And no, we can't have a rook endgame clinic, because I lack expertise. Even though I once did an endgame clinic, didn't I? And yeah, I don't know much about endgames. Well, openings, the stuff where you need zero like transfer ability, where you just need to memorize like 30 moves of theory, because that is the perception most people have of opening studies. Yeah, that I can do. Conte Yellow is wondering, do you think it's planned that Kasparov plays when Carlsen does not? I don't know. I did notice that Carlsen and So are not in the field. Probably, I don't know how the Grand Chess Tour works, because they already played in Leuven and Paris, and therefore they're sitting out one event. No, but I have no idea how it's planned and so on. And in general, it's gonna be a show to see Gary playing, no matter who the competition, so I'm looking forward to it. But of course, yeah, there is no Carlsen in the field, and the rest of, or most of the other participants will probably have participated in the Sinquefield Cup. So that works in Gary's advantage. It does not work in his advantage that he has not played competitive chess, except for the Blitz outings last year and the Blitz match against Nigel Short for a while. So I'm very curious to see how it's gonna go. I think we can all be sure that he will be well prepared and taking it seriously, but how he will score is very hard to predict. I am a horrible predictor in general, so I'm gonna go with like 50%, but I would not be surprised by swings toward either direction. As for this game, I predict that I will win, and I would be very surprised if that was not the case. Molaro resigns here because I was gonna get a new queen before he can checkmate me, because he wanted to checkmate me. Knight g4, queen h2, queen f2, but he's not gonna be able to do it. All right. You know what? It's Carl Nering's birthday. Might as well crush him mercilessly to take away the one thing he enjoys at his advanced age, and to break his spirit about ever becoming better at chess. So happy birthday, Carl Nering. d4, c6, e4, d5, the so-called Caro-Kann. What can I do? f3? Do you enjoy the f3 line, Carl? de, now I could. Let's gambit it up. No, I can't do it. Just can't do it. Knight c3, I'm sure many people would play that here, if they were following the cult that is known as the, what's called? Black Mardimer cult? You weirdos, you know who you are. Exchanging Black Mardimer ideas out there. I don't trust any of you. And it's normally not a good idea to offend you. Knight e7, Carl? First of all, after you allowed me to occupy the center, de is okay, but only if you have a direct idea in mind here. You should go e5. It's already a bit tactical. I don't know, to destroy my perfect pawn center. After d5 you have queen h4 check, so play would become very sharp. e6 is already a bit passive, and knight to e7 is just a bit strange, because you're blocking the development of your bishop. Having played e6, which I didn't like, you should have gone for knight f6 followed by bishop e7, because now it's going to be a little tough to develop this bishop. You have to go g6, bishop g7, but that's going to leave some weaknesses on a bunch of dark squares, like the f6 square, that can't be protected by a pawn anymore. Therefore, don't do that, Carl. And if you're unsure about the consequences, don't give up the center like that. Play e6, then get the pieces out, or play g6, bishop g7, but not this stuff. h6, once again, not a developing move. You must get those pieces out. This actually could make some sense if you want to combine it with g6. But still, get your pieces into the game. This is the big priority. Bishop c4 is a bit of a goofy square, I'm not sure. I could have played some deep move like h4, fighting against g6, but I thought, shouldn't overdo it. Because I'm trying to be very educational in this game, since it's Carl's birthday, I'm going for like a textbook setup. Knight f3, knight c3, pawns in the center, rook on the half open f-file, and crush crush him mercilessly. And Hammerstorm Wolf understands the danger that the Black Mardemer cult means for our modern society. And I do agree. Schellingford is saying this line is not as easy to tackle as one might think. No, it's not. It's a serious line. After f3, in order to go d and e5, you have to know a lot. I think after f3, queen b6 was a move for a while, but even there white can play. So no, it's a serious line. And after knight e5, I was threatening this pawn cow, and you should have defended it. But mainly you're paying the price for your sins. As you can see, I developed all my pieces to natural squares. You didn't, and that means that trouble will loom. Another golden rule of chess is the f7 square is always the weakest square in your camp, at least in the starting position. So best to keep it covered. I should stop drinking this coffee. And Pramod, no Game of Thrones spoilers, please. There are people out there, and I'm only saying this because I'm one of those people that have not seen the third episode yet. How do I do this? I could just take the rook, which would give me material for my book. It's very much work in progress. I still have not written a single page or thought about a single page, but nah, will never come. Anyway, my work in progress book on how to win at chess a rook cup always needs new material. Therefore, taking this rook does feel like a great idea. I'm sorry if I missed it, but there's a lot of talk about Lawrence Trent's games. Did he not do well in the third game either? I saw the second game, which was kind of brutal. But the third game went wrong as well, or what's happening? Knight g6, Carl, you cannot give me all your pieces. Just should not do it. Apologies. And apologies to Carl for ruining his birthday. But I believe we all learned a valuable lesson. I forgot what the lesson was. But yeah, this line is not dumb. Queen b6 or e6 is probably what I would do. If you want a fun line, you can play e5, takes bishop c5 with very sharp play. But in general, yeah, fight for the center, get the pieces out. All that good stuff. Alright. Must find strong opponent. Where are strong opponents? Scrolling through list. Vasily Smyslov. Probably not the real man, but named after the former world champion, Mr. Smyslov. Known for his endgame prowess and the harmony he instilled in his pieces. And he said stuff like, I'll make 40 good moves. If you do the same, it's a draw. Something like that. Who has ever made 40 good moves in a row? Come on. So far, so good. It's gonna leave me with the eternal question. Come on, you call yourself Smyslov and then you play 2 bishop f4? Is that even legal? I guess it's legal. Alright, I'll stick to my guns, to the repertoire that I advocated in my recent series on how to beat all these weird sidelines. After knight c3, I did say cd, ed, a6, and since I said so, I will do so. Bishop d3 is a move, but I consider knight to f3 a more critical move. Bishop d3 has been played by Carlsen. I think he went for some strange knight ce2 move. Did he? Maybe he went for something else. Here, many moves looked okay. Bishop g4 is perfectly natural. Knight b4 going after the bishop is very natural as well. But this move makes sense to me. Provoking f3 or c3, and then, just get the effing pieces out. Looks like Vasily Smyslov is a big expert on all the details of these lines. Blitzes out, bunch of random moves here. What do I know? I will allow him to take on g6 because he would be too happy with himself after bishop d3, knight d3, having put his knight on the gorgeous d3 square. So, with a heavy heart, I'm willing to part ways with this bishop. Part ways? Can I go knight e4? Kind of want to go knight e4. Nah, I'll be patient. I was thinking about knight e4, bishop e4, de, bishop e7, queen e7, which looked kind of possible, but not that exciting. By the way, is this another 3-minute game? Did I fall for the good old 3-minute trick? Which I always fall for, because I never check what time people challenge me at. At the risk of saying this multiple times every episode, and looking dumber every time I do, because I never check. Please make it 5 minutes, that will give us more time to talk, to get to know each other. Because like this, it's just a quickie where I'm gonna have to start entering flag mode in a second. And who wants that when we could have had a beautiful conversation about the virtues, the ins and outs, the highs and the lows of the, what do you call this? The very soft? I have no idea what it's called. Should I pre-move Fe? Maybe I prefer DE. Are there any threats here? I should keep like half an eye on getting checkmated. Maybe more than half an eye. H4, very drastic. Feels wrong to me, H4. But I could be wrong about it too. His plan is clearly to put a knight on G5. Wow, things are getting sharp. Breathe in, breathe out. Ooh, maybe I should have. It's so dumb. I want 95 and then I randomly blundered a piece. Anyway, now I'm a piece down, but it ain't over till it's over. I have some pawns and stuff. Sorry, I had to switch to very focused after blundering all my poor pawns. No, after blundering my piece. See, I can't even remember what I blundered. Do remember that I blundered something. Generally, it's not recommended to blunder pieces. In my experience, it's worse to blunder rooks, but pieces is also not great normally. That at least is what I learned over many, not very successful years of playing chess. But sometimes you can make a glorious comeback and queen a bunch of pawns after blundering a piece. But often you have to interrupt your banter and then stare at the position and dull out the show, which is very sad. But then you can blame your opponent for it because he challenged you to a 3-minute game, not a 5-minute game. So I feel that is the very valuable lesson we all learned from this game, where I just blundered a piece with d3. If I go knight e5, I should be doing fine, but who knows all these things? cd, rook g5, he can't take because of knight f3 check. Rook h2, so he has to take here. Yeah, it's a mess. Anyway, thanks for the game, Mr. Smyslov. So sharp. Let's play Mutineer. Is that how it's pronounced? Mutineer? Does it come from mutiny? Mutineer is not here. Opponent disconnect. Sorry, Mr. Mutineer. Must play somebody else. What about Omkar C? He goes e4, which is of course a legal move. I will fight fire with fire and play c5, which in some chess circles they call the Sicilian defense. I play the Sicilian a bit. I used to be a Najdorf player, or a very good Najdorf player, but still a Najdorf player. In the old days, a3 is one of these random moves that have come into fashion. h4, a4, knight b3. We've tried all kinds of weird moves recently here. g6 strikes me as a fairly logical reply, especially if white then switches to plans with f3, queen d2. I have a feeling a6 is actually more useful than a3, and I would probably do something else, because now, first of all, after d5, I was gonna say something smart, but I'm not sure it makes any sense. We have a theoretical dragon position with a6, a3 included, which I'm hoping benefits me, but I'm actually not that sure. I'm not sure. I should have played d5, because if I play some plan with bishop d7, rook c8, knight e5, or whatever, I'm fairly sure that a6, a3 should be good for me. Well, in these d5 lines, stuff gets very sharp, so, or very direct, so I'm not so sure this was the way to do it. Then again, who knows? There are lines, once again, in the similar position, with pawns on a2 and a7, like this, where queen takes a8, you go bishop f5. You're supposed to be alright. But what subtle changes could be brought by including this a6, a3? I'm frankly too lazy to figure out. I have a feeling after takes bishop f5, I'm still fine. He would have to take here, king would recapture, would be threatening checkmate here, which has to be parried by bishop d3. Or after bishop d3, I would have like some ideas based on queen e5, queen b2. Can't do it directly because of queen. Anyway, queen, rook d8 check, but I have a feeling bishop d3, h5 or whatever would be fine. Queen c5, is this one big advantage of having a3 included? That now after queen c5 you can go queen b4 or queen b6? Maybe, maybe not. I will threaten a check here. See how my demand gets answered. My demand is to take your pawn on b2 with check. I like my chances of winning this game on time. Queen b6 looks like a fairly logical move. I guess you could make a case for developing. Do I want to develop though? Not as a person that much. We have established in the last 100 or however many shows of Banter Blitz we've done. But I'm not so sure about this. Bishop d4 looks logical, and queen f4 check was my plan. He could go back, and frankly I don't really see anything better than repeating moves, which I don't want to do. So it's a slippery slope. Is it? Yeah, what to do? Random move time, I guess. Boom! Don't try this at home. It's just me. Avoiding a draw. Rook d8. And threatening checkmate, just so you know. But so far, C is hanging in there bravely. Jean-Paul Sartre 98 says, "Hi Jan, is he losing?" Who do you mean by he? Do you mean me? Do you mean my opponent? I don't know. I don't think he's losing. I don't think I'm losing. I think I will win on time, most likely. But as for who's losing, who's not, probably I'm better now because all my pieces get activated greatly. But I still don't think anybody's losing, really. A6. Stupid A6 pawn is still hanging. How do I play this smartly? Like this? Maybe not. King E1 might be precise now, so that after bishop B3, bishop A6, I don't have a check on C1. And Omkar C, not missing a beat. He can't castle, however. You can try, but castles will not be accepted as a legal move here. That much I can tell you with certainty. Bishop D1, I do have bishop C3 check, king F1, bishop C4, and something good should happen. So I'm still doing all right. Yeah, that's all there is. Bishop H6 is trying to checkmate me long term. Fair enough, but right here, right now, I don't see a checkmate. Even though it's always a little uncomfortable if your king is cut off there and is being threatened by one measly check that could end everything. Is this a move? Looks like a move. And the rook is about to fall. Good game by Omkar C, who, went down there in the end. As for the opening, after a3, g6, a feeling other plans might make more sense, like some bishop c4 short castles. But to be honest, I have not given it a whole lot of thought. Let's play good old... Is he old? I don't know how old he is. Floyd Akash. Floyd Akash. Are you a Floyd Mayweather fan? And therefore, he's called Floyd Money Mayweather, right? Therefore, Money Cash, is that it? I don't know, Akash is your first name. So, none of that holds true. Or maybe it does. I did play the Trompowsky, and I'm always slightly disheartened when people play e6. Because objectively, what I consider best is the boring... what do you call this? Torre kind of setup, knight d2, e3, knight f3. But it's a bit boring. And e4, h6, I'm just not a fan because you have to give up your bishop. So I'm trying to do worst of both worlds, play knight d2 after c5. I think there is this gambit, right? Which is bad. Is it bad enough for me not to play it? Yeah, I think it's too bad. Now, let's all learn something. E3 is the correct move here, but I've seen someone somewhere say E4 takes E5, H6, bishop H4 is interesting, which I strongly doubt. Now after bishop E7, I have a bunch of interesting options all of a sudden. I could take here, which makes some sense, or I could go E5, which also makes a lot of sense. Which one will it be? I'll take. Even though E5 felt like a better move actually. Takes normally does make a lot of sense if the bishop has not yet moved. But after bishop E7, if he has to spend another move to get to C5, I feel like there is some logic to it. I probably wouldn't recapture but play castles, or maybe even queen A5. Oh yeah, bishop E7 does not strike me as critical. Queen A5 played. Knight F3, knight E4, what's that position? Could also go E5 if I don't want to find out. thinking phase. e5, knight e4, bishop e7, swap. Not sure. e5 is also queen takes c5. Ah, no, that's not. It's all way too complicated. Floyd Akash. Enrocator is saying take on c5 if you have, I'm just translating, alls. He's not mentioning the first letter there. I'm not sure, Enrocator, if this is a question of alls or no alls. It was more of a question of e5 or dc5. Alright, we get this position, which looks favorable for me, because he will still use a little time in regaining his pawn, which I can then use after quick mobilization, bishop d3, knight e4, to do something. Stream stuttering. Oh no, please, no stream troubles. My heart won't be able to deal with any unexpected problems. It's Carl's birthday. We owe him one stream on Chess24 that does not stutter. Will this be asking too much? And will I sacrifice a pawn? Oof. I don't really want to sacrifice a pawn. What else can I do? I could just cover the pawn. Even though Floyd Akash might insist, I could also go knight e4 and queen a5. Yeah, c3, knight e5, knight d6. Yeah, maybe that's a more prudent way to at least offer to sacrifice a pawn. I don't know. So queen a5, I can still bail out by going queen d2. But I will do the bravest thing I have ever done and leave a whole pawn, central pawn, en prise. This is a big moment for me. Therefore, please, if I look a little out of my league, little anxious, little nervous, bear with me. Don't blame it on the stuttering stream. It is actually me stuttering, because he can take a central pawn. I would give a check and then hope that his king being in the center, stuck in the middle, would be enough compensation. Therefore, if Floyd Akash has any sense, he should refuse from taking that pawn. Refuse to take that pawn, as we say in the English language, which is the most commonly used language on this program. And just castle. But he is taking his time with it. It's hard to resist a nice, juicy central pawn. Is it not, Floyd? But he does come to what I consider the correct conclusion. And I actually miscalculated something. To be perfectly honest with y'all, I want knight d6 and knight takes e5. I thought was impossible because of knight takes e5. When after queen d6 is bishop h7. But he does have knight d6, knight e5, knight e5. Queen takes c3 check, which is a little more awkward. I'll still do it and hope he misses it. But it is a little more awkward. Because then he picks up the other knight. And I sacrifice 2 pawns, not 1. And instead of not allowing him to castle, I've lost my own castling rights. So it's not ideal, as we say in the business. It's pretty bad, actually. Oh boy. Yeah, I just missed this knight takes e5 from a distance, which is a problem. Still, I will fight bravely. This knight freezes a lot of the black army, so I should try to keep it in place. If possible at all, f5, I'll go bishop to f3, then try to bring my other rook into play, some h4, h5, or g3, king g2, according to circumstance. And then, as usual, the plan is, but don't tell anybody, to keep this charade up long enough to flag him. That's pretty much it. Knight d5 anyway. I could take. But I'm not happy. Nah, I'll do it this way. Still not happy. But the knight is just too valuable. What I was thinking about is rook d5, ed. I forgot already what we were thinking about, but I'm sure we're thinking about something. Ui, missed queen b4 as well. All this trickery. Who am I to deserve such treatment? As long as the knight comes back to d6, I have a good enough excuse for flagging him, which is all a man could ask for. Maybe this move, just to be annoying. Targeting some rooks, leading to mass confusion. More confusion. Queen d6, but then rook e8 is checkmate. Rook e5, but then my queen is hanging. Drama, baby. Floyd Akash is still looking for his queen. And he could not find it, therefore he does resign. Yeah, not my best game in the history of my best games. What I basically missed when I embarked on this b4 operation. I'm not sure, maybe I'm already not doing so well here. But I thought this was clever. And after knight e5, knight e5, queen d6 doesn't work because of bishop h7. But I just blundered. Queen c3, queen e5. After which, yeah, the rest is murky, looking for compensation. That's not really there. Knight g6 gave me a bit of a lifeline. Knight d5, much stronger. Anyway, thanks for the game. Floyd Akash. Shall we play another game? Let's play Enrocator. Agent Enrocateur. E4. Maybe g6. Maybe the time has come to play this like a g6. The opening of my childhood, I played a lot of g6, bishop g7, tending to play c6, d5. Never worked well, but what can you do? 2f4 seems mistimed to me. If you really want to do f4 business, then at least play knight c3, bishop g7, f4, which I still wouldn't approve of. But 2f4, it does look like d5 is a pretty good version of anything I could ever dream of doing in all these lines. Because first of all, the bishop is not on g7 yet, and against these setups with pawns on f4 and e5, it's not that great on g7, so sometimes you even develop it back to f8 at later stages. Secondly, I had not had to play c6 to prepare d5, but I could do it in one go. Thirdly, I forgot thirdly, but you get the idea. h5, knight h6, and knight coming to f5 is another typical setup. But I have a different cheapo in mind. Probably not a great cheapo now that I think about it. If he goes c3, yeah, then I've kind of mishandled the position. Bishop b5, I want to recapture on c6 with a knight, therefore knight e7. I have a feeling I will be in time to get my pieces to decent squares. This is not really any cause for concern, and bishop e2, frankly, does not make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't get it. Why would you retreat voluntarily, Enrocator? After bishop b5, you should castle, I will play a6, you should take, takes, and then something, c3, with, I don't know, roughly equal position. Bishop e2 is kind of asking for trouble. Now knight b4 might be a threat, c4 might be a threat, queen h4 might be a threat. All of a sudden, you have a lot to handle here. How do I do this? c4... Everything looks good. Knight b4 looks quite strong as well. I'll play this. Not sure, maybe knight b4 was better, but this looks tempting too, to bring the bishop into the proceedings. Once again, I have many tempting options. Knight f5, knight b4, anything. But this bishop on this diagonal, stopping his king from castling out of the danger zone and making knight f5 a much stronger idea. Looks decent as well. Dover Beat brings up a good point. When will the modern have to stop being called modern? I agree with that. It doesn't feel that modern to me. In my mind, modern is that by now we've all learned that one should occupy the center. Fight for it, with pawns, with pieces, with anything. And the modern we should rename into, I don't know, goofy. Like, this is accepting, okay, I'll be worse, but I'll have a position full of pieces where I can hope to outplay a lower rated opponent. But I'm not sure how modern this approach really is. It's more, maybe goofy is also wrong. It's the practical. The Patzer killer. No offense meant. I think, yeah, Patzer killer is a better opening for the modern than modern. Queen f6. I want to trap that queen, just so we're clear. Like, lesser minds would probably think about checkmating, something like bishop f2 check, king e2, knight g3, and probably checkmate is imminent. But me, all I'm dreaming of is checkmating this queen by going bishop to e7, and it's out of squares. That is real chess culture, ladies and gentlemen. Smux 2006 is wondering, is modern just a term as the latest main idea opening to popularize? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure people have played g6, bishop g7 forever. Also, it is very closely related to the Pirz, which has been around forever. Therefore, I'm not sure if it's really that modern. Alright, once again we have this key decision to make. Do I want to win his queen by bishop e7, or can I checkmate him by playing bishop f2? The bad news is, I think it's actually checkmate. So the Russian wisdom is, don't do this. Win the queen by bishop e7, because what if it's not checkmate? Shall we apply that wisdom? King e2, knight g3, king f3. You could argue it's not that checkmate yet. But okay, it's more fun to do this than bishop e7 winning the queen. So let's do it. I feel bad now. I should have gone with my original intention. Then again, worst case scenario, you can always take the rook and work on fresh material. This is actually not checkmate. See, I should have followed my own Russian wisdom and gone after the queen. Because now knight d4, king f2. Is there a mate? I can't see it. I'm going to have to think. Ugh. Don't see a mate. So, maybe instead of sacrificing this bishop for no good reason, I should just have taken his rook. As you can see, I'm drifting, very upset that I did not follow my own wisdom. This is different than don't get high on your own supply. This is believe in your own rules that you read in some old chess book. I might dodge a bullet and win this game anyway. But still, you see all the anxiety it caused me. Thanks for the game, Mr. Enrocator. What time is it? We still got time. And I still have not been to the bathroom, which might be the most impressive feat so far. Let's play Giuseppe Eilat. Italian first name and German last name. What does that tell us about you, Giuseppe Eilert? Are you half Italian? Are your parents fans of Giuseppe? What famous Giuseppes are out there? I'm going to have to Google that. Who's called Giuseppe? I should know more Giuseppes. Giuseppe Casagrande. Who's that? Maybe I misspelled it. Oh yeah, misspelled. My apologies, Giuseppe. I misspelled you with only one P. That's me, who always gets so upset when people spell me with one F. With two Fs and one S. Giuseppe Zanotti. There you go. Giuseppe Baldini. Giuseppe Barresi. Giuseppe De Luca. Giuseppe Verdi. Third of Verdi. Vini Verdi Vici. That was terrible. I'm German, I'm sorry. We are playing the symmetrical Grunfeld, one of the dullest lines known to man. After cd5, cd5, black is supposed to be fine, but interesting it is not. Knight f3, can I take on c4 here? And yeah, people have pointed out Verdi was the most obvious choice, which in hindsight I agree with. The good thing is all this Giuseppe research has only cost me 1 minute on the clock, which I will now have to scramble to catch up. The thing with English not being your first language, I have a fairly decent command of it, but sometimes the sentences just don't make sense, and I catch myself after I complete them thinking, ugh, what was that? Which I will now have to scramble to catch up. Doesn't make any sense, does it? You could castle here, but I believe knight to e4 at the first chance you get was supposed to be a good idea here. And then after knight c3 or knight d2, whatnot, you can go knight to c6. I have a feeling these early knight e4s were considered to be a clean equalizer in that move order. But of course, there's a whole sub-science to what happens if white goes knight e5, what happens if white goes knight c3, and so on and so forth. He's played queen b3, rook d1, but that does not feel all that challenging, or does it? Maybe I could have been more aggressive, play bishop g4, but castles normally is a fairly sensible thing to do. Of course, white has a great reserve of solidity here, so I'm not saying I'm better or anything. Just that, you know, I'm making it past the first hurdles. We're still talking about Giuseppe Verdi. Who was Giuseppe Meazza? I only know that's a football stadium. I don't know. Never met Mr. Meazza. I don't know why you play queen a4. It looks like giving me this tempo to develop with bishop d7 should be in my favor. a3. Go away. You're scaring me. There you go. But since he's giving me all these tempi, I'm slowly starting to get a little ambitious. Not overly ambitious, but you know, having some ideas. Bishop f5, bishop a4. Somehow take this pawn. Something could come up. Ugh, this coffee is still disgusting. But it's just reflexes. It's so hard to not go for our own conditioning. And queen d3, he spotted my one idea of bishop a4. But bishop f5 is very awkward because the only way to keep the queen alive now is to play e4. And de4 at the very least will give me an extra piece. And an extra piece for a strong grandmaster of my level. That doesn't make sense either. Anyway, an extra piece in my very capable hands normally means doom. Now that I jinxed myself, how do we not mess this up? I already feel like it's slipping away from me. Maybe just avoid any trickery. Queen a5 is a sad move, though. I will admit, with a heavy heart, that queen a5 was a sad move to make. Just bailing out, because I panicked. All these rook c1s, bishop e7, so many dangers in the air. Fraught with danger in this position. And Giuseppe seems to say, you know what, Mr. Grandmaster? You might have taken one piece of mine, but you will not get another one. I shall proceed as if nothing happened, and I'll play you with the missing piece. The sad truth is, so far, he's succeeding. I mean, I still win because I do have an extra piece. But d5. Well, you know what? I'm a big fan of material gains. And therefore, Giuseppe resigns. Even though after rook a1, you could argue it's the best position he's had for a while. Like, he's a rook down, but my king would be a little weak. And I would still have had to act precisely to collect material for the book. Shall we play another one? What about John Wayne? Not John Wayne, but John Wayne. Is Wayne minus interessiert minus DE still up? Used to be my favorite website, but at some point it disappeared. Oh no, it's still there. It's highly recommended. Mr. John Wayne goes 1c4. I don't know what to do. I'm already very frustrated, even thinking about what to do against 1c4. But I've always believed that it is a worthy cause to try to occupy the center, even with the black pieces. And after g3, c6, recently people have started doing this with some success. Looks kind of strange, but g3 is not all that useful in this reversed, I don't know what to call it, reverse French? Is that what you would call it? I'm not sure. I'm also not sure if knight f6 is the best move, or f5, or like so many options. But knight bd7 looks like a cute little trick. And who can resist cute little tricks? Not me. The cute little trick was knight takes d5, ran into queen a5 check. But you cannot fool Mr. John Wayne. Who blitzes out queen b3. This might still be theory too. I'm not so sure, but Mr. Wayne might know. Oh, knight b5? Oh. I'm scared now. And yeah, there it comes. Is this just bad? I saw this a little too late. Oh boy. Yeah, it looks fairly terrible, doesn't it? Is there any swindle out of this? I think I'm gonna have to wing it. Ooh, this doesn't work at all. Nah. I had some plan, but I'm embarrassed to even talk about my plan. It just does not work. King e7 does not make things better either. My plan was king d7, which I then changed because of queen b5 check. Well, if he wants to go for this queen b5 check business, he can still go queen b4 check, king d7, queen b5 check, which he does. He's so cunning, this John Wine. Mr. Wine. Yeah, this has not gone well, to put it mildly. But of course, we shall continue the fight. The grim fight. So lost, it's very hard to even think of something positive. Among my many problems are the fact that I'm a rook up and that I'm being checkmated. Now king d7, bishop h3 check spells a bit of trouble as well. So I'm gonna have to change my policy towards this, which is not much better. I still don't feel like calling it a day, but I have a feeling sooner or later that moment will come. Yeah, he's not blundering either, which admittedly it's not the hardest position in the world to play. But come on, just blunder a little. Give a little, take a little. What hope could there be? Very hard to think of any hope, really. Nah, a rook is a rook. Maybe rook c7, maybe this is my lifeline. It's knight c7. It's just a rook up for nothing, really. I mean, I'm still lost, obviously. Let's not go too crazy. But at least might continue for a couple moves now. Crushed by John Wine. But Mr. Wine is taking his time. Problem is, I'm still very lost. Even after all this drama, my position is not one full of life. Another very hard sentence to finish. Any tricks? I thought I had seen some trick, but now I can't even figure out what I thought I saw. Well, good old keep making moves. Don't allow him to win in one move. Theory of infinite resistance. If you just resist forever, they can't win. I read about that in one of John Nunn's books. And the theory made sense to me at the time. Now I'm not quite sure if you're lost. It doesn't really matter what you do, is the other side. You could argue in such discussions, but of course there is something to be said. Don't give up, hang in there, blah blah blah. And the trend is clearly my friend. Like, I'm still seriously worse, but it still is the best position I've had all game. Rook d1. here. Let's confuse him. Rook c8 looks very confusing, because why would I ever exchange this rook? But I had some cheapos lined up. Oh, could have taken the rook. He's already given milk. And I refuse the milk. Still, now looks like it's a bit of a collapse on part of John Wine. Take this or take the rook. Both look pretty good already. Yeah, that did not start out well, to put it mildly, because ever since I missed knight b5, I've been lost pretty much. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do here. Probably something like bishop e7 takes, queen a5 check, knight c3 castles. I'm not sure. It's an interesting position. But knight b6, knight b5, it looks like I'm just lost already. Which, yeah, wasn't ideal. But then, you know, the power of swindlery once again got the job done. Let's play Mr. Dragon. The Dragon, 2245. Dutch defender is saying, pity John, could have won perhaps. Yeah, maybe. There was the extra rook situation. Probably was sort of checkmatey too. What are we doing here? Oh, I forgot to continue my exploits as a Mora expert. And in this move order, it's particularly bad, because black can play knight f6 here. When, instead of dc3, which is of course fine, transposing to the normal Mora, but knight f6 is a strong move there. When after bishop d3, you take on c3. The bishop is committed to a bad square. So after knight f6, the best white can do is to play e4, e5, but that's really a sad little line. Well, now we're back in Mora territory. The moratorium, as I like to call it. Which I used to play as a kid. The plan I was taught then, still pretty much the only plan I know here. Queen e2, rook d1, castle, and hope for the best. Here in this move order is e5 good. Takes, king d8, knight e5. Doesn't look that special. No, I'll stick with the plan I know. Queen e2, rook d1, bishop f4. Hope for the best. So aggressive. I don't know if I should be humble and play knight a4 or if I can go for something more violent, like e5 or knight d5, but neither convinces me really. Like knight d5, ed, bishop e7 doesn't look like enough. Knight e5 also seems mistimed, so I'll go here, but then b5, b4 actually makes perfect sense, like chasing my knight away from the center. So yeah, so far, can't say anything bad about Dragon 2245's play. Maybe he's not a 1500 player, and actually a very strong player. He's just not so active here regularly. I'm starting to be very afraid. Like, not as afraid as last game, but still very, very afraid. And believe it or not, I don't really trust my Mora instincts. To me, this just looks like I'm a pawn down with a bad position. Probably that's because I am a pawn down with a bad position. e5 was maybe not the way to do it. But this b5, b4 idea looks interesting. And People were yelling knight d5. Yeah, that didn't look so convincing, did it? He takes bishop e7 or even queen e7. I don't think it really works there. I understand knight d5 is a typical Sicilian sacrifice. That not going to be able to do it there. I will go knight f7 and given the chance, but I have a feeling I won't be given that chance. Ooh, that's a surprise. No questions asked. Wham bam, thank you, man. This tactic normally works. You don't even have to calculate much. King f7, queen e6, king g6, either bishop c2 or queen f7 should lead to checkmate. Typically bishop c2 and king h5, queen f5. Yeah, that's checkmate. We'll get the job done. So you can pretty much never allow this. And there's similar tactics in the semi-Slav positions that I frequent, so I didn't have to think about this very long and hard. It's what we call pattern recognition. This is checkmate, sir. So my streak with the Mora continues, but I still don't trust the opening. All right, last game. Is this the last game? Shall we play one last game, maybe? Oh! This is a gentleman that has defeated me the last time around. And as we all know, I don't take defeats well. Not even from Stephen Curry, 30. Who I hear is working on his golf game more than his basketball game these days. And he also plays the Vienna. Let's see what is his next move. f4 is how they used to play. But I don't really like this f4 business. g3 is more like it. g3 was recently played by Andreikin against Kramnik. I think they had something like this line. c6. Andreikin went for something very aggressive with f4, but did not get a good position. To put it mildly, out of the opening after d6, he was seriously worse soon. So I'm expecting the cunning Mr. Curry to do something else here. I don't know what, but something else. There is some theoretical line with knight e2, d5, takes, d4, takes. I think Kramnik had a game there as well. I'm trying to remember any details, but so far failing. We'll see. How could this go? I recall there was something with bishop d4, queen d4, knight c6 in some position. Could that be here? Not sure. It's logical, of course, but I am giving up my precious dark squared bishop. So instead of bishop d4, you can certainly make a case for castles, bishop to g4, something like that, which, yeah, looks fairly playable as well. So we'll see how this goes. Now I kind of have to act aggressively to justify giving up my bishop. My poor bishop. Of course, castle is still the most natural move, but I feel like I must do something. Maybe knight b4 was there. I don't know. I'm already panicking. Stephen Curry has my number. Stephen Curry. The Warriors. So far, so good. What's going on here? Here's the two bishops, which is not great. I was going to target this pawn, but yeah, once again I wasn't precise. I should have started with knight a5, bishop d2 is a good move. After which I must think of something new to do. Too strong, too fast, too strong. 95 attacks c2. I'm trying to figure out what happens after rook c1. I want knight to c4. He goes queen b7. Very aggressive once again. Rook c2, then what's going on? Bishop b4. Maybe I can go rook b2. Let's find out. See? He's in my head so deep that I'm doubting the most obvious moves. Bishop a5. Very deep. Ugh, I drank from the poison coffee again. Will I ever learn? Queen a7. Do I have time to grab this little bugger? Or should I go all active? d3 was tempting, but then bishop c3. I don't really want to see that happening. I could also have gone bishop to d3, but I have a feeling it's important to grab one pawn. You never know. So far, so good. Bishop d3 or d3 are looming after rook c1. Since the knight is under attack, that decision becomes a little easier, and I'll go here. Oh yeah, still tense little position against Stephen Curry 30. But it looks like I'm winning the exchange. I don't think he can do anything to stop me from taking on f1. e1. That is a legal move. I'm not gonna argue that. Can I do something clever like knight e3 maybe? F here rook g2 is winning, so I don't think there's anything to be said against it. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do after queen a3, which is the typical sort of desperado. Rook c6 is another desperado, which I did not see coming, to be honest. Should I have seen it coming? Ugh, he's making me calculate again. Darn you, Mr. Curry. Queen 5, f e1, not that clear. Yeah, good resource, queen f5. Now, things have not turned out the way I wanted them to. I guess I'm still okay, but all of a sudden it's very messy. It looks like I'm winning. Fe runs into queen f1 or bishop c6, and the f1 square is a bit of a target. But another tough fight against Stephen Curry 30. Very deeply in my head, Mr. Curry. c3, what did I do? Knight d1 probably. c1 is of course legal. So many options. I wish I could calculate a little faster. My plan is to go queen f3. I was trying to make sure after fe queen f3 I'm winning, and I'm still not sure at all, but what can you do? Now I'm fairly sure, because I'm picking up his queen, and therefore Stephen Curry 30 resigns. Another dramatic fight against Stephen Curry 30. Yeah. well, still better than Cleveland, right? 1-1 against Stephen Curry. So I should not complain too much. But I'm not that happy with the overall proceedings there. That brings us to the end of today's show. What was it? Do I have anything to plug? No, really. Sinkerfield is starting. As I said, I'll be commentating the last 2 rounds in German. Before that, I'll be around. I'll do the occasional highlight video and that good stuff. But of course, you can watch the live show done by the St. Louis team with Yasser Sayravan and others in English on good old Chess24, if you so fancy. I'll be doing stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy your afternoon. I'll head home now and watch Game of Thrones episode 3. So no spoilers, please. See you guys soon.